Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to phonology, morphology, um, syntax, semantics, pragmatics, and linguistics in the classroom. I will briefly define all these terms. I will discuss these components and how they relate to linguistics and literacy in the classroom. And I will also provide two strategies that are research based that to be soon to be effective in the classroom. First thing I'd like to do is share my screen with you. Okay, so you can see here that I have some definitions of the components or elements that we um, just discussed. So first we're going to discuss phonology. Phonology are words that have discrete or separate units known as phonemes, and the study of those phonemes and how these sounds form words is called phonology. An example of this would be the word water. Some people may say water, and others may say water. In English speakers, these two different ways of saying water is fine, but in other languages, each word may mean something totally different. So it helps us understand that in our English language, the different sounds have different words which have different meanings. That leads us into morphology. Morphology is the study of how parts of words called morphemes create different meanings by combining with each other or standing alone. For example, the word cookie. This word means one cookie, but if you add an S to it, it becomes cookies, and that changes the meaning. It now means more than one. The next definition I want to discuss is syntax. Syntax is the study of the structure and formation on sentences. Syntax provides some basic rules so we can create sentences using the correct word order. It's important because it uses language in a proper way. The basic rule is every sentence needs a subject and a verb. Um, Semantics describes how words are used, not how they are used. Um, It is the study of how language is used figuratively and literally to produce a meaning. For example, a toy block could be called a block, a cube, or a toy, all meaning the same thing but have different terms. Pragmatics is the study of what the speaker implies and what a listener infers based on factors such as the situation, the context, the listener's mental status, basically social language. Three examples I like to give on pragmatics is the first one is, how are you? When this question is asked, most of us respond not in the literal way, but in, I'm fine, and you? We infer that how are you is a greeting and not actually, how are you? The second example would be when someone says, do you have any children? And the listener responds, I have two sons. If the speaker acts a different way, the response would be different. Do you have any girls? And the speaker may respond based on their situation, I only have two sons. When you are at a party and you are done with the conversation and want to leave, you may say, well, it's getting late. This saying is pragmatic because it is not real. It implies something else. And instead, we say this. Um, so, why are these components all important? So, I'd like to just briefly describe back to you these are important. So, when teachers understand these components, it helps effectively identify and address specific areas of difficulty for some students. This allows teachers to differentiate and individualize for students' learning. This helps teachers to lesson plan more effectively in the areas of grammatical concepts. And by understanding these elements, phonology, which is sound, morphology, which is word structure, syntax, which is sentence structure, semantics, which is meaning, and phonology, and pragmatics, where language uses in context. When teachers understand these elements, teachers can explain grammar rules more clearly and appropriately to the students' needs. So we can see how it ties into if we don't understand the sounds of words or the meaning of words, it will hinder us on understanding what we're reading and what the language is within the writing. Now I'd like to share with you two effective strategies, and I'm going to share my screen with you because they are very important. The first one is it's a first grade teachers, and they're also university based researchers, and they develop these strategies to enhance speaking and listening skills of their first grade class. And I found this very interesting. The teacher who's also the second author in this article, and her name is Meredith K. Ogden. Meredith has been a teacher for 12 years, and throughout this year-long study that they did, she acted both as the researcher and the participant, or slash the teacher, in trying out and reflecting on these instructional ideas. Um, so let me share with you my screen right now for you, and let me highlight what I'd like for you guys to understand. Great. So I'm just going to scroll up here. I've talked to you about who the authors are and what they tried to do. What I'd like to highlight right here, and I'm going to highlight it for you guys right now, is discussion also offers the benefit of being inclusive of students from diverse backgrounds. Previous work has found that discussion increases participation for dual language learners and reading enjoyment for all, and that conversation enables teachers to publicly value all students' thinking and talk. I found this really powerful. Um, First, that we can find research that proves to us that dual language learners and reading are enjoyment. And we also reflect on that teachers value conversations. It allows us to know that students are thinking and talking. So the next part that I want to share with you in this article, and please, I will put these in the references, and please feel free to look at it further. So Meredith, Meredith Ogden, she from the beginning of the year, Meredith taught speaking and listening in academic context. She supported the children in listening and learning from each other, preparing for discussions, and taking responsibility for those discussions. Teacher support for speaking and listening. This is what I really enjoyed. She had on this easel literature discussions, and she posted this, and it's let's. So L is for listen and look at the speaker. E is for equal participation, meaning I have a turn, you have a turn. T is for taking those turns, and S is for sit up and show respect. We don't want to be lazy talking to somebody. We want to be engaged. We want to show we're actively listening and actively talking. And then she gave some prompts down below, because sometimes when you tell children to get in a small group or pair partners, they don't know how to start a conversation. So this gives us some prompts like, this reminds me of I wonder, I don't understand, I agree with, because, I politely disagree with you, because, I'd like to add to. So what are you saying? What you're saying is, and can you tell me more? Now, this is great for the students to work, as I said, in small groups or in pair partners, but it's also good prompts for the teacher to show if you're doing a large group. Um, she continued on to saying that you'll see that she gives a reflection on everything that she taught. And then she gives some other examples. I'm just going to briefly give you the titles. The children's responsibilities and discussions, the discussion preparation, how to Meredith emphasized that students need to come to the class literature discussions prepared. She doesn't want them to come She provided common text ahead of time with the expectation that the children would read them and record their thinking. Um, so here's an example. Meredith, I want you to reread your literature discussion book. Stop and think and use your stickies. If you're not stopping and thinking while you're reading, when we come to a literature discussion, we are going to have a lot to say. Um, Oren, a student in the class, Oren is actually, yes, a student in the class, and he said, "You can't be just like if you brought Henry and Mudge's big sleepover. Well, it was about Henry and Mudge big sleepover. You can't just say that." Meredith says, "Is that a very exciting conversation?" The class says no. So Meredith then says, "So your conversation needs to be," and the other student says, "bigger." Meredith infers again, interesting and bigger. I like the way you said that. And one of the ways we achieve that is by using our sticky notes and thinking. Um, Also, she wants to gradually increase to the children's independence. And this is really important because she was working with first graders, and first graders are going to be expected in second grade to be really reading on their own for a portion of the day. So we have turn and talk, and we want to read what we say, and then turn to your partner and discuss what you've read. So please take a look over that and let me know your thoughts. Okay? So I'm going to stop sharing this. And the next strategy that I'd like to use is a strategy by the Early Language and Literacy Initiative, or the ELLI Lab. It's a school at Stepping Stones Museum for Children in Norwalk, Connecticut. It is a special program designed to increase uh, equity in children's learning opportunities and outcomes. The authors of this article are teachers, leaders, or mentors of the Early Language and Literacy Initiative Lab. The curriculum and instruction is based on Vygotsky concept of language and learning. Let me share my screen with you so you can see what I'm talking about. Please give me just a second to get it up for you. Thank you. So we can see here beautiful examples of what they studied and what they found. Very fascinating stuff. Okay, so Vygotsky, I'm going to highlight it. Again, thank you for your patience. So Vygotsky understood that language develops through social interactions, with those with more knowledge teach those with less experience the skills, values, and knowledge needed to be productive members of their community. Vygotsky saw learning as a process of guided discovery in which more experienced community members provide support to purposefully stretch children in their zones of proximal development. One such way that they did this, as you can see, as I scroll down here, you can see that the scaffolding knowledge by creating complex settings. What they did around the museum was created visuals and complex language to those visuals. So you can see here, really beautiful artwork, and then they incorporated linguistics and literacy into that. So what I'd like to talk about, though, is focusing on vocabulary and language structure. I'm going to read briefly over what the scenario is and then read over to you. The following scenario began in the imagination of one child who pretended to be Michelangelo, and it was extended through conversations with the teachers. Eventually, all joined the imaginative play. And I was fascinated by this because this was done with preschoolers, and that's what preschoolers really should be involved in. That it shouldn't be a sit-down academic lesson. It should be play through learning through play, excuse me. So, as a group of children and serve up and dine on pretend lunches in the mini museum cafe, another child takes on a new role with a curly beard, paint stained fingers, and an old smock. Who are you? Asks Anton. Where did you come from? Asks Exani. With the teachers joining the pretend play, the child introduces himself as Michelangelo and confirms that he is not a local artist. Local is a new vocabulary word that was intentionally and explicitly taught to the children. Again, it's a new vocabulary word and it was intentionally and explicitly taught to the children. I've flown here from Italy. I need a break from all of this ceiling painting, he says, grabbing his arm, his face comically pained. Also, someone told me the food was very, very good here, and the art. Michelangelo points to the children's colorful paintings and collages hanging in the exhibit. Two servers jump to ask for his order when he takes a seat. Michelangelo talks about his latest project as his cucumber and tomato dish cooks. When the bill comes, he scribbles out his signature, another vocabulary word. He scribbles out his signature, bids the children goodbye, and vanishes from the classroom as quickly as he has appeared. And for the rest of the day, the children were abuzz about that visit. Now, this paints a beautiful picture. Teachers have already created a lesson where they gave those vocabulary words. I infer from this description is that the words are all around them, that they're being spoken, they're being written, they're being applied in all different kinds of ways. And the children are grasping onto that and using it in a playful manner. The kind of creative child initiated, multifaceted play emerged frequently thanks to the complex physical and rich linguistic environment the teachers cultivated. The other vocabulary words integrated into this unit included temporary, permanent, symmetry, edible, non edible, three dimensional, and self portrait. These words, along with child friendly definitions, were posted throughout the classroom to remind the teachers to use those words. And as soon as the children understood a concept, the teachers intentionally used sophisticated synonyms multiple times and in multiple contexts. That way, the children learn the words naturally, and then they use them in the classroom and at home. Wow, I wish I could be in this classroom. This sounds fantastic. Again, we want to create the environment so the children can naturally play and learn within that environment. They're not sitting down being taught, today we're going to learn about temporary. Temporary means this. No, what they did was they talked about it, they put it around the classroom, the children played, the children grasped onto those words, and then they applied it. And that's something that should become natural for everyone. So as you can see, those are the best ways that we can use linguistics in the classroom. I hope I hope you enjoyed this brief webinar. And if you have any questions, please drop me a line. I'd like to hear from you. Thanks so much, and you have a great night.